Dr. Kilpatrick from New York State University has been a school psychologist for 20 years and then had access to all this reading research and put together this wonderful, wonderful book that summarized how reading develops and so on. And then he took it a step further too in the latter part of the book, where he started comparing different programs and their outcomes. Mm-hmm. And the way he measured it was to look at the outcomes based on what are called standard score points. So I don't think we need to get into all the stats about that, but that's the best way to measure growth, because it tells you whether if your child is below grade level, we'll mm-hmm. call it, then their percentile score, that where they would stand on a standardized test, is going to be below grade level. Mm-hmm. So let's just use an example. That grade level score can also be converted into a percentile. It's actually the other way around, but we'll just call it that way. So let's say your child starts at the 5th percentile, which means they have a standard score in most of these tests of, say, about 75. Now, to be considered average for their age, okay, then each year, okay, that child who's at 75 would have to learn more words because the rest of the kids are learning them, right? Right. So the child who's at a 75 when they're 6 and isn't taught properly is going to be at 75 when they're 7 and 8 and 9. They're not going to grow very much. They might grow a little bit, but they're not going to grow very much, right? In the meantime, the other kids are growing like this. So the normal learning curve is looking like this, mm-hmm. right? And these guys are flatlined right from grade 1. So by the time they hit grade 6, the gap is enormous. That 75 is an enormous gap now, because there's thousands of words the child has not learned mm-hmm. or been exposed to even in those 6 years of schooling, because they were off to the poor start to begin with. So the standard score, let's say we take that child and we do something significant. We teach them, right? They go from 75 to 85. Okay, now the cutoff for average is 90. Okay, actually we use 95 because that's a better metric, so 95. If they go to 85, they've obviously made a huge improvement, mm-hmm. but that's still only maybe percentile 14, 15, something like that. It's not huge, right? Even if they make 90, that's still only percentile 25. Okay, so they're still in the bottom quartile, right? Yeah. If they make 95, then they're at 37. Now they're better. If they make 100, they're around the 50th percentile. Now that's better. Mm-hmm. But if their potential is 115, even reading at grade level at 100 mm-hmm. is still not really enough for that particular child. So it's important to consider all these factors mm-hmm. when you're assessing the child and when you're remediating them and what sort of expectations we want for them and so on. So what we have learned at the clinic is that we can do a lot, and we also know now from our stats analysis approximately how many hours it takes to move so many standard score points for your child. And so we can do that. So we do that by grading them.